Residents of Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Politics is about sincere service and sincere action over many years. For me, it is a sacred duty. What is my motivation? To partner the vulnerable and have them overcome. How? Through action. Words are very easy. Much tougher is action. At the last rally, I shared heart to heart why it is a priority of mine to visit families in their homes. 10,800 home visits to HDB homes, private apartments and landed homes over the past 5 years. Why? Because we care. We care for you more than an expression of words can capture. To talk is easy, very easy. Action, much harder. Each home visit is important, meaningful, and precious. Moments are shared, and an understanding of the family is forged. At the first rally, I shared one example of a grandmother, a constituent whom I serve, who was in her 60s and single-handedly raising her grandson because her own daughter was in prison due to drugs. We partnered her through difficulties and she overcame. I shared this because it reflected why we do what we do for the residents we serve. It is one of many examples. At the second rally, I shared another example of a young man, a teenager, whom we partnered through some tough and difficult moments. His father upped and left the family due to gambling debts, and it fell on this young man to lift the family, his mother and younger brother, out of the doldrums. We worked at it together, financial assistance and, more importantly, companionship. His despair and angst turned into a steely determination to overcome. Keeping in close touch, he called me in my law office to share that he had scored straight A's in his A-levels. Got into the university of his choice in Europe, but the stumbling block was finance. I said, hang in there. We will find ways and means. Keep that dream alive. We listed down the scholarships he could apply for together. He asked if I would be his referee. I said, yes, no hesitation. Because you, I said to him, you personify overcoming adversity. He got a scholarship and is now pursuing his engineering degree in a university he dreamed of and read of when he was a child. I shared that story because it was meant to encourage, to show the Singapore spirit is alive. What I did not know was that same young man was in the crowd at Commonwealth Avenue when I gave that speech on Saturday night. After the lights dimmed, I went to shake hands with the residents who came. And there he was. We did not say anything to each other. He knew everything I said was true. But this time, when we clasped hands, the encouragement was mutual. I for him, and him for me. That type of bond takes years to build and cannot be easily broken. Today I would like to talk about these values, these beliefs I hold dear. Every 3 months we have in Ulu Pandan, the constituency I serve, a small gathering of students. I meet with them to understand how they are faring in school, understand the difficulties they face, and how we can partner them to overcome these difficulties, whether at home or because of difficulties coming out of home. It gives us a chance to understand how we can partner. At these gatherings, bursary and achievement awards are given out. We, or I, could easily send these by post, but we don't. We meet with the students, spend time with them, understand them, and I have been doing this for years. I have met students who have progressed from difficult secondary school days into ITE courses of their choice, and then to poly. There is drive and determination in them. I see their willingness to push the envelope, overcome. And after some years, we see them working in their uniforms, nurses, technicians. And you feel proud for them and their families. That belief to overcome adversity and partner residents through vulnerable moments cannot and must not just stop at constituency work. It must make its way into the debates in Parliament so that laws accommodate flexibility, compassion, second chances, and most of all, opportunities to reach Singaporeans' full potential. My regular meetings with these students in Ulu Pandan galvanized me to push for more poly places for ITE students and more university places for poly students in Parliament. These were not theoretical desires born out of policy pen pushers. They were deeply held convictions born out of first-hand knowledge of what my constituents hoped for, desired. Every one of the ITE students I spoke with wanted to move into poly, and so I raised this issue in Parliament, not once, not twice, but 5 times, to ensure we were able to catch the students when they peaked, when they were developing their potential, and then put them on escalators to institutions, whether ITE, poly, or university. That would bring out that unique potential in them. The government did move, acknowledging the gifts ITE students can bring to the polys and the merit of including the hands-on poly grads in our universities. So friends, what I'm saying to you and sharing with you today is what we do in the constituency, how we serve, the appreciation firsthand of the needs of the residents we serve is thought through, analyzed, internalized, and for me, that means asking myself in good conscience whether a gap needs to be filled in Parliament. And if it does, then I fill that gap. The first step of trust is not complete without the second step of action. So the first step is crucial. That relationship is built on trust. How? Sheer hard work in the constituency. In Ulu Pandan, I've done 10,800 home visits, given out 5,500 bursaries and scholarships, and attended to 8,887 requests from residents in the last 4.5 years, excluding the first term, the first 5 years. And still there is more work to be done. Let me share one example. I mentioned 5,500 bursaries and scholarships, but one year I realized that the bursaries and scholarships we were giving to our students were only meant for students in our formal education schools. I noticed there were 2 or 3 special needs students whom I had met on home-to-home visits that did not come on stage to receive awards. Driven by the belief that these students should also be recognized for their drive and willingness to overcome, a group of volunteers raised money, set aside and set up our own Ulu Pandan book prizes. Yes, the monetary value was important because 2 of the students were brought up by selfless single mothers, and the 3rd student was brought up by a bus driver and a wonderful wife. But more important for me and for all the volunteers was to see that child walk on stage and receive that award, helped by his parent, slowly climbing each step, sometimes finding it difficult to coordinate the motor functions to even shake my hand. But the whole audience, children and parents from mainstream schools, volunteers and staff, even the MC, pausing, encouraging, and clapping throughout. And that is the Singaporean spirit. For him, we cheered. For all the students, we cheered. And we cheered him on as Singaporeans. Values, beliefs, shared experiences with residents, sharing hardships, trust, advocating for change, making change happen with actions, not just speeches. Now that's politics. And my friends, I firmly believe that actions must be values-based. That is exactly why I introduced the Private Members' Bill on the prevention of human trafficking. I shared at the last rally that it is this strong core belief to partner the vulnerable that drove me to argue for, initiate the Prevention of Human Trafficking Private Members' Bill. I shared at the last rally that after 10 interagency meetings, 6 public consultations, meeting with 300 participants over 1 year, it gained unanimous support of the MPs present in the House. It being a private member's bill, my focus was singular, to partner the vulnerable and have them overcome. I could not have done it without the residents of Ulu Pandan, the residents of Holland Bukit Timah GRC, who encouraged me throughout the process, the intense process, and all my teammates on stage who stayed late into the night to vote aye, to vote yes, to support the bill. But since I am devoting my speech on values and beliefs and conversion of these into action or actions, let me share an epiphanic discussion I had with a volunteer who ran the shelter for the women, the ladies who had been trafficked in the sex trade. After our 8th interagency meeting, I asked to be able to make a private visit to the shelter in Singapore. Within a few weeks, the visit was arranged. I met the volunteer. She was a Catholic nun. She said, "Would you like me to share with you the philosophy and ethos of this center?" I said, "Of course," and I listened intently. She opened with this line: "The ethos of this center is that it is worthwhile to leave the whole world behind to save one life." It is the ethos of this center that it is worthwhile to leave the whole world behind to save one life. I was bowled over. What a paradigm to operate from. What an immense ideal. And she walked the talk, giving her whole life to the poor. The center was named the Good Shepherd Center, taken from the parable of leaving the 99 sheep behind to find that lost one, bring it back, nurture it. It is a center which cares for women of all races, all religions, all socio-economic backgrounds, but women who have been sexually exploited and abused. After leaving the Good Shepherd Center, I said to myself, that captures the ethos of the Prevention of Human Trafficking Bill, to care for every lady, regardless of creed or socio-economic status who has been exploited. During the debate, which stretched several hours, and just before I asked Parliament to support the bill, I quoted that volunteer and said in Parliament, if this bill manages to save just one life, if it deters a human trafficking syndicate from bringing in one sexually exploited victim, it would have been all worthwhile. But it is our hope that it will save more than just one life. The bill was passed unanimously. First and foremost, values. Partnering the vulnerable. Then trust, having them overcome. Then the next step, analyzing where a legislative gap needs filling, and then filling it, not just with words and fancy speeches and lovely rallies and 9 days of promises, but action. I would like now, in closing, to move on to a topic close to my heart, the defense of our nation. I've written about it in the Straits Times, debated it multiple times in Parliament. It is not an academic topic for me. I shared at the past rallies that I grew up in a military family. My father signed on in 1965 as an officer when he was 18, even before NS was formalized, was selected to train as a fighter pilot, helped set up squadrons in the Singapore Armed Forces. He flew with the first Black Knights team. Defense, as I had said, and I've been quoted, and I don't mind saying again, is in my blood, as it is in everyone's blood in Singapore. SAF men, their wives who support them, SAF women, police home team. With the Black Knights flying in the early 70s, it made crowds roar, but it sent strong signals elsewhere. Today we have the Black Knights and all our servicemen in the SAF pushing that same envelope. It was a message that rang loud and clear when my parents affixed the epaulets on my shoulders during national service and during all the ICTs that I performed, and I'm sure you performed. I say again, SDP's proposal to cut the defense budget by half will ambush Singapore's sovereignty. I said that at the last rally, I say it again. They say cut the defense budget to half of what it is today, 3 to 5 years' time. Not in this environment, not in this geopolitical environment, and certainly not on our watch. That is dangerous and it is opportunistic. But they know they have to cut from somewhere, so easy, take it from defense. What's their rationale? We are a small developed country. Other small developed countries like Switzerland, Finland, Norway have smaller defense budgets, so why can't we? There's a big difference, my friends, between Switzerland, Finland, and Norway. They are settled. They are nestled in the comfort and bosom of Europe. We are not. We have a very different backyard. We have a very different circumstance. We are in a capricious neighborhood. Then, one SDP candidate says that many of us hope that DPN Tharman would have a falling out with the Prime Minister and will come out to lead a coalition, Pakatan Rakyat Singapura. Sounds a bit familiar because there's a Pakatan Rakyat somewhere else. I asked the discerning voter watching here tonight, watching this on YouTube, do you think that seeking division in cabinet is a responsible desire? I ask again, is hoping for discord among cabinet a responsible thing to seek? No. Responsible for Singapore? No. Responsible for Singaporeans? No. It is a serious misjudgment to desire such discord. SDP's latest proposal, or perhaps a re-proposal, put the budget for health under the defense budget. I again ask the discerning voter, looking at these policy proposals and rearranged proposals, is parking a large budget on health for an aging population under the banner of Singapore's military defense budget wise? In the interests of preserving Singapore's sovereignty, our defense budget needs to be a dedicated one, strong and nimble enough to accommodate the military assets we need to keep Singapore safe. Would shoving health under the defense budget banner be prejudicial to Singapore's sovereignty? Of course. Shouldn't health have a dedicated budget for itself, especially because of our seniors and the aging population? I have shared heart to heart with you tonight. This is me. What you see is what you get. The teammates that I have are the same. Politics for me is a sacred duty. Please don't use the election as a political soapbox. To do so is to misunderstand the gravity of the duty we owe to Singaporeans, we owe to the residents we serve. A duty Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, Ms. Sim Ann, Mr. Liang Eng Hua, and I take very, very seriously. Partnership, action, service. Vote the PAP, majulah Singapura. Para penduduk GRC Holland Bukit Timah, kami telah mengunjungi beribu rumah di kawasan GRC ini untuk mendengar dan berkongsi bersama anda dalam masa yang sukar dan masa yang senang. Dengan rasa rendah hati, kami, Dr. Menteri Vivian Balakrishnan, Cik Miss Sim Ann, Encik Liang Eng Hua, Dr. Teo Ho Pin, mengharapkan sokongan anda. Undilah PAP. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. 谢谢.